I've been thinking a lot about the road trip as I edit all the videos and content that I made from that. I'm working on part 2 of the vlog right now, and just all this footage, all these different parks, and it's making me think, like, why did I even do that in the first place? Like, that was a crazy road trip, like 2,500 miles in 10 days. Like, I'm still kind of a little sick. I think, the road trip had something to do with it. I'm still recovering. It's just like, I really pushed myself, and I think I pushed myself a little bit too far. So I'm just like trying to figure out why I would go out of the way to do something like that. And the first thing that I think of is content, of course, because, I can make videos out of it, but like, not really. I mean, sure, I can like maybe expense the trip on my taxes, but unless I suddenly blow up very quickly in the near future, it's not like I'm going to be making any of the money that I really spent on this trip back through YouTube. Which, whatever, I'm totally fine with that, that's okay. And sure, new experiences at different parks are fun, but did I really have to go to that much of an extreme? And after I thought about it for a little bit, I came to the conclusion that, yeah, I kind of did. And the reason for that is because I'm kind of bored of my home parks. Now, I first want to state that I'm very aware of how ridiculous and privileged that makes me sound, given that there is a complete embarrassment of riches around me when it comes to home parks. I am an hour away from Six Flags Great Adventure. Many people consider to be one of the best, if not the best, Six Flags parks. I am an hour and a half from Hersheypark, which I think legitimately now has a contention for one of the best parks in the country. Knoebels, Dorney Park, even, Six Flags America, word up. All these parks are within easy day trip driving distance of me, and if I really wanted to push myself, I can get to Kennywood, I could get to King's Dominion and do that whole thing in a day. Plus, let's not forget about the Coney Island Cyclone, which I may just be riding again this weekend on the way home, visiting my family on Long Island. So how can I complain about being next to all these incredible parks? Well, even though these parks have super elite rides like El Toro, Skyrush, Wildcat's Revenge, all these incredible coasters that people come from thousands of miles away to ride, I don't really know. I just kind of get bored of it. Like, I'm not the type of person who drops in on a Tuesday for some rides, which is partially because I'm a busy grad student, fair, but partially just because, like, I don't know, I've already done it. Like, why do I feel the need to do it again? This thought kind of bothered me because I thought it was a little nonsensical, so I probed a little bit more in my subconscious, and I came to the conclusion that there are 2 types of enthusiasts. Group A, the people who just can't get enough of a certain ride experience, and then there's Group B, which is people that get tired quickly and those who are always looking for something new. I definitely fall in the latter. Now, that being said, I have plenty of friends in the former category, and those people have literal hundreds of laps on certain coasters, at some point thousands of laps. And I love that for them. That's awesome. Part of me kind of envies that, but that ain't me. For example, I don't want to necessarily shout out my friends by name, but I have a couple friends who have over 200 laps on Magnum. One is almost at 400 laps at this time, but if I lived that close to Cedar Point, I honestly feel like that I, a Magnum guy, would eventually tire of Magnum. And even if I were living my dream, living in a little shack in between Viper and X2 at Magic Mountain, sitting in the middle of Arrow Heaven, waking up in between the two every day, I'd probably take pictures of them every day, but I don't know if I'd really stop by to ride them. Why is that? I kept kind of going deeper into my psyche, and I decided that one of my favorite parts of the hobby, at least, is the sheer variety of the coaster world, the sheer variety of coasters that are on offer. Like, every park, every new attraction has its own unique thing to offer. You stay at one park, like, yes, you can have amazing experiences such as, El Toro and Skyrush, probably gonna go to as my kind of cliche examples because they are the closest elite rides to me. And they're awesome every time I enjoy them, but even those incredible experiences eventually grow stale after you repeat them so much because you just grow familiarity with it. I can close my eyes and go through the entire El Toro layout, like forces and all, in my head, and get it nailed down to like the exact second, because I've been on it hundreds of times over my lifetime. I don't know, I don't really track ride frequencies, but it's been like 20 years. Sidebar. But yeah, I just keep ordering and feasting on this delicious, delightful meal, but after a while, my palate kind of grows accustomed to it, and I want something a little bit differently spicy, if you know what I mean. And that's what I think drew me to the road trip, even though some of the parks are definitely not on the quality level that Six Flags Great Adventure or Hersheypark would be, like Darien Lake. Definitely not. But I can honestly say that I had a better time at Darien Lake than I did at a Great Adventure this year, just because it was all new to me and it felt like a new and exciting experience. Now, I'm trying to keep myself grounded here. I am aware that it sounds privileged. I've had the chance to visit a lot of parks, ride over 200 coasters in my life, and not everyone has that opportunity. People don't have the money, people don't have the time, that sort of thing, which I totally understand. But there are ways of getting out there without breaking the bank too much, and this road trip that I just had was basically me kind of testing that to the absolute limit. Like, no lie, that road trip was really tough. I'm a grad student, I do not make a lot of money, I had to do the entire thing on the cheap, which meant basically like eating out from Costco that I got before the trip, staying at the cheapest Airbnbs I possibly could, trying to look for discounts in any way that I possibly can, that sort of thing. And it made the experience really grueling. If I just had, hotels or just like better food, like it would have been a more enjoyable experience, but overall, it was very tough on me, both physically and mentally. And that said, I still think it was worth it. Road trip ride experiences were just something incredibly special to me, and something I'll keep in my heart forever, even if I don't go back to these parks for a while, because they were all something I was experiencing for the first time. It's like trying a new food for the first time, or, going to the dealership and hopping in a new car and going around for a test drive and seeing what it feels like. It's kind of this electric excitement of trying something new. And there were so many new coaster memories that I formed on this road trip that were completely unique to me. Night rides on Phantom's Revenge, my surprisingly good experience on Predator at Darien Lake, which was also my first experience with Titan Track, just the entirety of Waldermere, the goddamn voyage at Holiday World, like, come on, and then Tornado at Stricker's Grove with, like, the strongest airtime hill I've ever experienced in my life. I'm gonna talk about that later, don't you worry. I'm making a video about that damn thing. It is that good of an airtime hill. They all kind of imprinted themselves on my mind in a way that I don't think it would if I had ridden it 100, 150, like 1,000 times beforehand, because there was no sense of familiarity. So even though I could expect what was coming from, ride POVs, just looking at the layout, you don't actually know what a ride is like until you actually get in the seat and experience it and feel the forces. It's totally different actually sitting on the ride compared to just like watching a POV. And there's just something special about grappling with a new experience. You form this bond immediately with the ride, and as you ride it more, this bond changes and changes. For example, the voyage, I didn't initially like that much. Okay, that's a little dramatic. I liked it a lot, but I thought it was very overrated. But the more I rode it, the more I kind of bonded with the ride, and the more my relationship changed. And the more I was like, damn, actually this thing is really good. And by the end of it, I was like a Voyage fanboy, and I felt this like really powerful bond with the ride, and it felt very special. Compare that to El Toro, which has been, elite and in my backyard for literally my entire life since the ride has existed. Every time I go, it's like, yep, El Toro, it's really good. Know exactly what I'm getting here. Nothing new. And an underrated aspect of going out to all these other parks and doing this crazy road trip, getting yourself out there, it gives you the chance to explore other things, explore this wonderful world, and see things that you would have never seen beforehand. I went to places that I have never been to in my life, like upstate New York by Buffalo, Erie, Pennsylvania, literally all of Kentucky, Indiana. These are states that I didn't even touch before. I even got the opportunity to stop in West Virginia for 10 minutes, get some gas and some food so I could cross it off my state bucket list. There's just so many beautiful vistas and roads driving through. It was such a gorgeous view of Midwestern America. And the Hell is Real sign too, that's a classic. And I started to fall in love with some of these Midwestern cities that I really just never gave a second thought to in the past. I spent 3 days at a shitty Airbnb in Louisville, and I loved the city. It was really cool. It was more built up than I expected, had a really fun kind of downtown area. It had a very charming feel, but it was very much a city. Same with Cincinnati. Cincinnati was like way bigger than I was expecting, and I really enjoyed it. I tried to go to the American Sign Museum. It was closed, but like, you know, just looking at it, the vista, it was really cool. And it just showed me like even these brief pockets driving through these cities, there's whole worlds in there that I still have yet to tap in and explore. And when I go back there in the future, like that's something I'm gonna want to tap in. Maybe, you know, when I go to Holiday World next, I might just spend a day in Louisville, like go down the Bourbon Trail, like try other stuff in the city. There's so much to do. I think that's one of the greatest gifts of this hobby, even outside of the traveling for amazing roller coasters, which is obviously fun. But this hobby forces you to get out there and experience what our planet has to offer, because you can't just go to your home park and get the same experience. I always complain about this, but ever since Gasm was removed from Great Adventure, like 15 years ago at this point, if I want to get that experience, I need to travel 3,000 miles across the country to go to Magic Mountain and ride Viper. Which is annoying, because, you know, I miss Gasm, it's great. But at the same time, like, that means if I want to go out and ride Viper, I need to spend time in LA. And I love LA. There's so much cool stuff in LA. So, besides the money aspect, which is definitely a big aspect, I do think it's overall a net positive having to travel for rides, because I think traveling is one of the greatest gifts of the modern world. We're truly privileged to be able to just travel across this world and go to places that people 1,000, 100 years ago would have just dreamed of ever visiting, that we can go to in less than a day's time. That's an incredible gift, and I'm happy that this hobby gives me both an opportunity and an excuse to take advantage of that. And that's part of me wishes that I didn't get so bored, because, you know, there are some legitimately awesome rides around me, and I wish I could feel that same sense of wonderment that I felt the first times I rode El Toro, the first time I really fell in love with Sky Rush. They're still truly special rides. Every time I hop on them, I enjoy them, but the magic of them is just missing a little bit. There's just something missing that I'm never going to really be able to capture again. That said, as long as I live nearby, I'm always going to stop at Great Adventure for a ride or 3 on El Toro anytime I drive past, and I will always love it. To me, El Toro is like your favorite local pizza joint. You've eaten at it a million times, you don't really seek it out anymore because you can just like feel the taste of it in your mouth anytime you think of the pizza slice, so you almost never recommend it to friends, but anytime you drive by it, you're still going to stop and grab a slice. Because even though you're so familiar with it, even though it hasn't changed in 20 years, after all this time, it still tastes damn good. Thanks for watching, guys. I took a little bit of a different format with this, just a little bit more produced than the last XLRant, which I hope you guys appreciate a little bit more. Hopefully it makes it a little tighter. There's a lot of videos I'm working on, but there's just like such a large pile that I'm trying to get through, so I wanted to do something to get out, like, you know, in the interim. So hope you guys enjoy this. Next up, I do have part 2 of the park blog that's going to be coming up. I'm literally like working on that as we speak. I also have other videos from the park road trip. I also have my massive next elegy video, and I'm kind of drafting up some ideas for the next crash course. So please be patient with me. Grad school is tough, especially now as I kind of am pushing towards the last stages of it, and there's just a lot of work to do. If you stay this long and haven't given the video a like, why are you still here? If you're not subscribed to the channel, please come subscribe to the channel. I promise there's a lot of fun content coming in the near future. And as always, thank you for watching.